Welcome back to Tubiween. I'm wearing a hat now. That's what I'm doing. I don't know. We're talking about, I decided to dive back into some more modern stuff just to see what was there. And I remembered seeing a TikTok with a movie clip from a movie that looked like a Terrifier knockoff called The Jester. I watched The Jester. I have some thoughts, but we'll get the basic information out of the way first, and then I will delve into it. Because I'm still not entirely sure how I feel about it, and also people's responses to it. Here's some basic shit. The Jester is directed by Colin Krawchuk. He hasn't really directed anything else of note, except the original Jester short film and the sequel short film, I believe. The Jester, and the newly released this year Jester 2. It is unfortunately not on Tubi from what I was looking, so I won't be touching on the Jester 2 this time. But that's what it seems like he's done. It seems like he's a very, very, very small-time, low-budget director, and good for him. Compared to other slop that I've seen coming out from this time, this is leagues better. The only kind of sort of big star in this movie is Matt Servito, who just... he's one of those actors where you see him in a movie, and you're like, oh, it's that guy. But you never know his name. He's played a bunch of small roles in like Enchanted and Hitch, the Will Smith comedy from like 2003. But yeah, he's that's like the biggest name they could get. Nothing to Matt Servito if you're watching for some reason. But yeah, it's just like that's like the biggest name they could get, which is fine. You know, whatever. It's a small movie, small. I don't. My point with all of this like kind of deliberation is I don't want to be too mean to the Jester. Because I'm seeing online from... I tend to never really look at critic reviews unless it is for more of an arty-farty movie. When it's an arty-farty movie and the critics have a pretty high score, I'm more interested. But there's also another detail to that where it's like if it's an arty-farty movie and the critic score is like 95%, but then the audience score is like 32, I'm like, that's probably a good movie. Whereas if a movie has a critic score of like 32%, but the audience score is at like even 80-something, then I'm like, that was probably it's probably bad. And then the worst of the worst is if the audience and the critics score 1% point, 2% point off each other. Movie's probably the most mediocre thing you'll ever see in your life. That's usually how that goes. For something like this, I wouldn't even bother looking at critic reviews because I just assume it's horror. They're gonna hate it. So I rely a lot on audience reviews for horror. The Letterboxd score for this movie is like a 1.7, which is crazy to me. That's nuts. I don't think Stuff Stephanie and the Incinerator is even that low. Or Blade the Iron Cross is that low. Or fucking Spookies. And I think this movie's better than all of those. Definitely better than the Stuff Stephanie and the Incinerator. Shit actually happens in this movie. So like, it's bizarre to me because this movie's getting crucified online, or was, not so much anymore, but it was getting crucified online, and it's like, it's a low-budget, mystical slasher movie. Like, is it just because he's wearing a mask, you immediately think it's a Terrifier knockoff? Because this movie's not, really. Maybe that was the goal, and if that was the goal, then they missed the goal hard, but it's more thoughtful than the Terrifier movies, where the Terrifier movies are just for... You just want to watch those to watch people get gored, and I mean, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, fine, I like the first Terrifier enough. The second one tries to have a story. It goes on for too fucking long, but it tries to have a story. And I've never seen the third one. I truthfully could not give a shit. I don't care. I should see it. I'm 2 movies in at this point. I really should see it, but I just... Every time I think about it, I'm just like, man, that's like pulling teeth. This movie, I guess just from public perception, was just trying to be a Terrifier knockoff. And again, it's not really gory. It has some moments. A dude getting all of his teeth yanked out in his eyeballs, that's pretty crazy. That's awesome. I don't give a shit. That's awesome. Oh, yeah. That's like the worst it gets. That guy gets decapitated, but it's like there's like barely any blood. Not as much as there would be in real life and or a Terrifier movie. So it doesn't feel like it's trying to be that. And the Jester is more thoughtful than Art the Clown, I'll say. I don't want to come off too... I don't want to make it sound too ambitious, because I'm not sure if it's really being ambitious. It's definitely a matter of... I think the director had a pretty decent idea of what he wanted this movie monster to be, and I think unfortunately most audiences didn't want it to be this. They wanted to see another Art the Clown slaughterfest, and that's not what you get here. What you get here is more of a story about trauma and the Jester kind of forcing people to deal with this trauma head on, through violent means sometimes, through the loss of other life sometimes, but it's like the most extreme way that you could try to tackle trauma. The really basic rundown is Emma is our main girl, and she has a half-sister named JC. Emma's father left the family when she was young because the father wanted nothing to do with her. He had another daughter with another person and was much more of a father figure to JC than he was to Emma, because he actually cared for JC. Years later, the father's trying to call Emma and make amends. She tells him to fuck off, rightfully so, and then he kills himself, except he didn't kill himself. The Jester hung him and made it look like a suicide. The Jester is wholeheartedly, no questions asked, magical in this movie. He's teleporting around, he's hanging people with nooses that he's not touching. They're just like he's taking people's teeth out without touching them, eyes out without touching them. Like, he's just magical. And if you can get over that, then fine. If you can get across that bridge, then cool. From then on, it is JC kind of trying to make amends with Emma. Emma just being like, I kind of want to try to have a relationship here, but I can't look at you as anything more than the perfect child that I wasn't, because Dad was in your life and not in mine. He hated me, whatever. And then it's just like the Jester chooses to kind of follow Emma around and forces her to see visions of what she internalizes her father to have been thinking and or saying to her, to then get over that trauma. And it kind of just ends with everyone being fine, and the Jester isn't really there. I mean, he's following Emma at the end, like he's always kind of hanging around, which I see that as a way to be like, yes, you may have tackled your trauma, or you may have moved past or beyond your trauma, but it's always going to be lingering there, and you never know what could set it off. And that's kind of how I am taking that, and that's why I feel like this movie's a little bit more ambitious than people are giving it credit for, unless I'm looking too far into it, because I will still say, all around, the movie itself is kind of boring, with kind of really interesting topics and subjects being tackled through it. I don't think this needed to be an hour and a half. This probably could have been a 70-minute go for it all kind of thing. But again, then that's not feature length, and you're not a full moon movie, and you probably don't want to be lumped into a full moon movie, as we've been over. So I get it. I just feel like this movie was more ambitious than what the budget or maybe talent involved in was able to give it. Not to say that, you know, the people involved aren't talented. The guy playing the Jester, I should have wrote his name down. I didn't. I'll put him here. The guy playing the Jester is fully committed to it and is very good at it. Comparably so to Art the Clown, where that actor is also just like fully committed to art. As much as I don't really like the Terrifier movies as they are, I mean no ill will to the dude playing Art. He's in it. He's committed, and it's impressive. It's really fun to watch him, and that's mainly why you're watching it. You're watching it so that you can see Art do shit. The guy playing the Jester he's committed. He's fully in it, and you can feel that. And I genuinely believe that there was a passion from the director to make something interesting here. And I think he's like 40% of the way there. I think it's like 40% of the way interesting. And I see the Jester 2 has higher scores, so I'm hoping he might have crossed that bar, though I haven't seen it yet, and I can't say anything, so we'll see. It looks like he has fully committed to being a Terrifier knockoff in the second one. I haven't seen any trailers. I've literally only just read reviews, and it seems like he has gone the way of his detractors and committed to being a Terrifier knockoff, where it is now a gore fest. And if that is truly the case, then I think the Jester has missed the mark, because I genuinely think for this first feature-length movie, it's really ambitious, and he's so close to being, which is going to sound so mean, but he's so close to being average that it's interesting. It is, like I said, 40% of the way there, and if it just crossed that 50 percentile margin, then I don't think people would have hated it as much. I also think most people are just stupid. I know that you see the cover, you see the guy dressed up in the mask and the suit, and you think Terrifier knockoff. As soon as it's not that, either turn it off or realize that it's not that and get the fuck over it and just watch the movie. Don't review it as a failure of a Terrifier knockoff, because I don't think that that's what it was trying to do. And that's what a lot of the reviews I'm seeing are just like, oh, the half star, bad Terrifier knockoff, 1 star, had some fun watching it with friends, but it's a bad Terrifier knockoff. It's like, I don't think that it was supposed to be that. And it worries me that if the sequel is more committed to being a Terrifier knockoff, then we've missed the point. And it's our fault, probably. So, I don't know, I kind of liked it. I'm not full-heartedly being like, you should watch this, but if you have seen it for whatever reason, whether it was through clips on TikTok or something months ago, maybe give it another shot and just try not to view it as what you think it's going to be, and just let the movie tell its own story. I will say the acting is a little rough, but again, low budget, first time making like a real feature-length film. I totally get it. Don't care. That's fine. I'm so okay with looking past bad acting when it's like a first time whatever. I'm so okay with looking past bad acting, poor cinematography, and bad lighting if what you're presenting as a first-time filmmaker is something that's kind of interesting. And this movie was. It was something interesting given those mistakes. And I just kind of feel bad for the director. If, again, I could just be putting my thoughts in his mouth, and that's not at all what the point was, and maybe it was a failure at a Terrifier knockoff. I don't know. I'm just gonna end this one with, I thought it was pretty good for what it was. Don't go into it being a Terrifier knockoff, because it's not really a Terrifier knockoff. Maybe the sequel is. I don't know. I'll watch it at some point and give you maybe next year. Who knows? If it's on Tubi, I don't know. But I'm confidently leaving this one with a 2 out of 5 on the Schlockometer. Just didn't quite reach that mark of being 2.5 for me. A solid 2, because it's just right there. It's just interesting enough that it hurts that it doesn't quite hit the mark. I don't know. I was okay with it. I wasn't miserable. Overall, little boring, but once it starts picking up towards the latter half, where it should get more intense, it's interesting. I liked it. I fucked with it. Anywho, that's the end of the Jester, and tomorrow we'll be moving on to a movie that I've seen prior, but remembered nothing about, and wanted to revisit it for this. So stay tuned for that one. All right, man, you got the chance to do something really fucking cool here. Let's see. This will make or break the entire movie, depending on what he does to these cops here. Huh. What? Look it back at him. Aw.